Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, staring out at the massive space station that hung in the void before them. Kepler Station was bigger than any human city, a gleaming metal world that served as the headquarters for this sector of the Galactic Federation. After 3 months of traveling through space, Jake and his crew had finally reached their new home. "First time seeing a real Federation station, Captain?" asked Lisa Park, his tactical officer. She was a small woman with sharp eyes who had served in the Earth Defense Force for 10 years before joining this mission. "First time for all of us," Jake replied. He pressed a button on his command chair. "Tony, open a channel to the station." Tony Garcia, their communications officer, nodded from his position. "Channel open, sir." "Kepler Station, this is Captain Morrison of the UES Defiance, requesting permission to dock." A strange musical voice came through the speakers. It sounded like wind chimes mixed with a flute. "Welcome, human vessel. You are cleared for docking Bay 7. Admiral Stone is waiting for you." Jake had read about the different alien species in the Federation, but hearing one speak still felt strange. The voice belonged to one of the Veltari, a peaceful race that looked like tall, thin humans with blue skin and large eyes. Sam Wright, their engineer, looked up from his control panel. "Captain, their docking system is completely different from ours. It's going to take me a few minutes to figure out how to connect safely." "Take your time, Sam. We're not in any hurry." As the ship slowly moved toward the station, Jake thought about how they had gotten here. 2 years ago, Earth had made first contact with the Galactic Federation. The aliens had been friendly, curious about humanity, and eager to welcome them into their alliance of 847 different species. It had taken months of talks and meetings, but finally, humanity had been accepted as the Federation's newest member. The Federation had been around for over 3,000 years. In all that time, they had kept peace between hundreds of different worlds and species. They had rules for everything, from trade agreements to how wars should be fought. Jake had spent weeks studying their military codes and still couldn't understand half of them. "Docking complete," Sam announced. "We're connected to the station." Jake stood up and straightened his uniform. "Lisa, Tony, you're with me. Sam, keep an eye on the ship." The 3 humans walked through the airlock and into Kepler Station. The hallways were huge, built to accommodate species of all different sizes. Jake saw a group of tall insect-like beings talking to what looked like floating jellyfish. Near them, a creature that resembled a walking tree was having a conversation with a small, furry animal that stood on its back legs. "This place is incredible," Tony whispered. They followed signs written in dozens of different languages until they reached Admiral Stone's office. Karen Stone had been commanding Federation forces in this sector for 5 years. She was one of the few humans who had been working with the aliens since first contact. "Jake, good to see you made it safely," Admiral Stone said as they entered her office. She was a tall woman with gray hair and tired eyes. "How was the journey?" "Long but educational," Jake replied. "We used the time to study Federation military protocols." Admiral Stone laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "Those protocols are going to give you a headache. The way these aliens fight wars is nothing like what we're used to." "What do you mean?" The Admiral activated a holographic display that showed a star map. 3 days ago, the Zethkar Horde declared war on the Veltari Republic. "Do you know what happened next?" Jake shook his head. "They scheduled it. The Zethkar sent a formal message to the Veltari saying they would begin hostilities in exactly 72 hours. They even included a list of which star systems they planned to attack, and when." Lisa frowned. "That doesn't make any sense. Why would you tell your enemy your battle plans?" "Because that's how civilized warfare works in the Federation," Admiral Stone explained. "Both sides agree on where and when to fight. They meet in neutral space with equal numbers of ships. The battle continues until one side surrenders or takes significant damage, then both sides withdraw to repair and plan the next engagement." Tony looked confused. "But what's the point of fighting if nobody really wins?" "Oh, somebody wins eventually. It just takes a very long time. The Zethkar have been slowly taking territory from smaller species for the past 200 years. They follow all the rules, so the Federation can't stop them. They challenge a species to formal combat, win through superior numbers or tactics, and then claim 1 or 2 star systems as their prize. Then they wait a few years and do it again. Jake felt a cold feeling in his stomach. How many species have they conquered this way? 17 so far. Not through genocide or massive invasions, just through patience and following the rules. Admiral Stone changed the display to show a picture of the Veltari. They looked peaceful and gentle, with large eyes that seemed sad even in the photograph. The Veltari are next. They're asking for human help. What kind of help? They want us to be their champions in the formal combats. Humans can represent them in the scheduled battles against the Zethkar. Lisa stepped forward. Admiral, with respect, this sounds insane. We're talking about a real war with real consequences, but everyone's treating it like a game. That's exactly what it is to them, Lisa. The Federation has been at peace for so long that they've forgotten what real war looks like. They think these formal duels and scheduled battles are the height of military sophistication. Jake studied the star map, noting the positions of Zethkar and Veltari territories. What happens if we refuse to play by their rules? Admiral Stone's expression grew serious. That's a dangerous question, Jake. The Federation's entire society is built on these rules and protocols. If we start ignoring them, we risk being expelled from the Alliance. Earth needs the Federation for trade, technology, and protection from threats we don't even know about yet. But if we follow their rules, the Veltari lose their homeworld? Eventually, yes. The Zethkar are better warriors and have more ships. In a series of formal combats, they'll win most of the battles. It might take 50 years, but they'll claim the Veltari systems one by one until there's nothing left. The room fell silent as the humans absorbed this information. Jake thought about the peaceful Veltari and their sad eyes. He thought about the Zethkar slowly conquering species after species, always following the rules, always being civilized about it. When does the first formal combat begin? In 4 days. The Zethkar challenge is for a battle of 20 ships per side in the Kepler asteroid field. Winner takes the Veltari mining colony on Kepler 7. Jake nodded slowly. Then we'd better start preparing. But Admiral, I want to study every rule in the Federation combat codes. If we're going to fight this war their way, we need to understand exactly what their way means. Good thinking. But Jake, remember what I said about following the rules. The Federation is watching us very carefully. This is humanity's first real test as a Federation member. We can't afford to fail. As they left the Admiral's office, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that something was very wrong with the Federation's idea of civilized warfare. Wars were supposed to end, not drag on for decades. Soldiers were supposed to fight to win, not to follow rules that made victory impossible. But for now, they would play the game the Federation's way. They would learn the rules and fight the formal battles and try to save the Veltari through civilized combat. Jake just hoped it would be enough. Jake Morrison floated in his command chair as the UES Defiance moved through the asteroid field. Around him, his crew worked quietly at their stations, preparing for humanity's first formal battle under Federation rules. The Kepler asteroid field stretched in all directions, filled with floating rocks the size of buildings and mountains. Contact on sensors, Lisa Park announced from her tactical station. 20 Zethkar vessels approaching from the designated vector. They're broadcasting their identification codes and battle plan as required. Jake shook his head in disbelief. Even after 4 days of studying Federation combat protocols, he still couldn't understand why enemies would tell each other exactly what they planned to do. Put their transmission on screen, Tony. The main display showed a massive insect-like creature with 4 arms and black eyes that reflected light like mirrors. This was General Thraxon, commander of the Zethkar force. When he spoke, his voice sounded like metal scraping against stone. Human vessel Defiance. This is General Thraxon of the Zethkar 3rd Battle Fleet. As required by Federation Combat Protocol 7, I am transmitting our approach pattern and initial engagement formation. We will begin combat operations in exactly 1 hour. May this battle bring honor to both our species. The transmission ended and Jake looked at his crew. Did he just wish us good luck? Looks like it, Tony replied. According to the protocols, both sides are supposed to show respect for each other before fighting. Sam Wright's voice came over the comm from the engine room. Captain, I've been running calculations on their battle plan. If we follow our assigned Response pattern. We'll lose this fight in about 3 hours. Explain. The Federation gave us a standard defensive formation to use. It's designed to minimize casualties and allow for an honorable withdrawal when our shields drop to 50%. But the Zethkar formation is specifically designed to counter it. They've been using these same tactics for 200 years. They know exactly how we're supposed to respond. Jake felt anger building in his chest. The Federation had set them up to lose, not on purpose maybe, but their rules made victory almost impossible for the defending side. Lisa, what's our real tactical situation? Lisa studied her sensors. The Zethkar ships are bigger and have more weapons, but they're slow and clumsy. If we could fight our way, we'd hit them fast and hard before they could form up properly. But the protocols require us to approach slowly and engage in formation. How slowly? Maximum speed of 1/4 impulse. We have to give them time to prepare their defensive positions. Jake laughed, but there was no humor in it. So we have to attack slowly enough for our enemies to get ready for us? That's correct, sir. It's considered unsporting to catch your opponent unprepared. Through the view screen, Jake could see the Zethkar ships moving into their assigned positions. They looked like giant beetles with weapons mounted on their backs. Each ship was twice the size of the Defiance, and their formation created overlapping fields of fire that would be deadly to any ship following the standard Federation approach. Captain, came a new voice over the comm. It was Captain Roy Palmer, the Federation diplomatic observer who had been assigned to monitor the battle. I hope you understand the importance of following proper protocols. This engagement is being broadcast across Federation space. Many species are watching to see how humans conduct themselves in civilized warfare. Understood, Captain Palmer. We'll follow the rules. But even as Jake said the words, he was thinking about alternatives. The Federation rules were designed to make war safe and predictable, but they also made it impossible to actually win. The Zethkar had been conquering species for centuries using these same protocols. They knew exactly how every battle would go because everyone had to follow the same patterns. Time to engagement, 30 minutes, Lisa announced. Jake activated his comm system. All crew, this is the captain. In 30 minutes, we'll be fighting our first battle under Federation rules. I know these protocols seem strange to us, but we represent all of humanity today. We'll show the galaxy that humans can fight with honor and skill, even when following rules we don't understand. The crew responded with quiet acknowledgments, but Jake could hear the frustration in their voices. These were soldiers who had trained to win battles, not to participate in elaborate ceremonies that looked like fighting. The next 25 minutes passed slowly. The human ships moved into their assigned formation alongside 19 Veltari vessels. The Veltari ships were beautiful but looked fragile, like they were made of crystal and light. Their captains sent polite messages wishing the humans good fortune in the coming battle. 2 minutes to engagement, Lisa called out. Jake watched the tactical display as both fleets approached each other at the required slow speed. The Zethkar formation was perfect, each ship in exactly the right position to support the others. The human and Veltari ships followed their assigned pattern, moving predictably toward the enemy guns. This is insane, Tony muttered from his station. Combat begins now, Lisa announced. The Zethkar opened fire first, as was their right under the protocols. Bright energy beams lanced out across space, striking the Federation formation. The Veltari ships absorbed the hits on their shields, which flared with pretty colors, but held strong. Return fire, Jake ordered, and the human ships launched their own weapons. The energy blasts struck the Zethkar vessels, causing similar light shows as their shields absorbed the damage. For the next hour, the battle continued in the same pattern. Both sides fired at each other from long range, following the rules that prevented them from getting too close or using certain types of weapons. No ship was seriously damaged because the protocols required everyone to maintain safe distances. Jake found himself getting more frustrated with each exchange of fire. The Zethkar were slowly wearing down the Federation shields through superior firepower, but the process was taking forever. In a real battle, this fight would have been over in minutes. Captain, Sam's voice came from engineering. Our shields are down to 60%. The Veltari are in worse shape, some of them are already at 50%. How much longer can we keep this up? At this rate, about 2 more hours before we'll have to withdraw, according to the rules. Jake looked at the tactical display and saw that Sam was right. The Zethkar were winning slowly but steadily, just as they had planned. Their formation was designed for exactly this kind of long, formal engagement. They would grind down the Federation forces through superior firepower and defensive positioning. Incoming transmission from General Thraxon, Tony announced. The Zethkar commander appeared on screen again, his insect features showing what might have been approval. Captain Morrison, your ship fights with great skill and honor. Your tactical responses have been most impressive for a species new to civilized warfare. Jake stared at the alien general. Thank you, General. I look forward to our next formal engagement, perhaps in a few months, when both our fleets have had time to repair and prepare new strategies. The transmission ended, and Jake sat in stunned silence. The Zethkar commander was already planning their next battle months in the future. This wasn't war, it was a game that could go on forever. Captain Palmer to Captain Morrison, came the Federation observer's voice. Go ahead. Excellent work following the protocols. Your conduct has been exemplary. The Federation Council will be pleased with this report. Jake wanted to scream. They were losing. The Veltari were about to lose another colony, and everyone was congratulating him for following the rules, but he kept his voice calm. Thank you, Captain Palmer. As the battle continued its slow, predictable course toward defeat, Jake began to understand something that chilled him to the bone. The Federation's civilized warfare wasn't designed to end conflicts. It was designed to manage them, to turn war into a permanent institution that could continue forever without actually threatening the stability of galactic civilization. And somewhere out there, the Zethkar were slowly conquering the galaxy, one polite battle at a time. 3 weeks after the first formal battle, Jake Morrison stood in the observation deck of Kepler Station, watching the largest fleet he had ever seen. 200 ships from each side hung in space like metal cities, preparing for what the Federation called a grand melee. The Zethkar had challenged the Veltari to this massive engagement, with 3 entire star systems as the prize. It's like watching a parade, Lisa Park said beside him. The Zethkar and Veltari fleets were arranged in perfect formations, each ship in its assigned position according to Federation combat protocols. Bright lights marked the boundaries of the official battle zone, and Federation referee ships floated nearby to make sure everyone followed the rules. Jake had spent the last 3 weeks studying every formal battle in Federation history. The patterns were always the same. The stronger side would slowly wear down the weaker side over hours or days of polite combat. Ships would withdraw when their shields reached 50%. Crews would share medical supplies during the mandatory rest periods. Winners would claim their prizes, and everyone would go home to plan the next engagement. Captain Morrison, came a voice behind them. Jake turned to see a tall Veltari approaching. This was Commander Velthan, one of their military leaders. His blue skin looked pale with worry, and his large eyes held the sadness Jake had seen in all the Veltari. Thank you for agreeing to fight alongside us today. It's an honor, Commander, Jake replied, though the words felt hollow. He knew how this battle would end. The Zethkar had more ships and better weapons. The Veltari would lose another 3 star systems, and millions of their people would become refugees. The ceremony begins in 1 hour, Velthan continued. Both fleets will meet in the center of the battle zone for the traditional exchange of respect. Jake nodded, but his mind was elsewhere. Tony Garcia had been monitoring Zethkar communications for weeks, and yesterday he had discovered something that changed everything. The Zethkar were building a secret fleet, hidden in a system outside Federation space. While they fought these polite battles in public, they were preparing for something much bigger. Commander, Jake said carefully, what would happen if the Zethkar attacked your homeworld directly, without following the formal combat rules? Velthan's eyes widened in shock. Such a thing is impossible, Captain. No civilized species would break the ancient protocols. It would be barbaric. But what if they did? Our homeworld has no defenses except for the system patrol ships. We have always relied on Federation law to protect us. If someone ignored the rules... Velthan's voice trailed off as he realized the implications. Jake felt sick. The Veltari had no concept of real warfare. They had followed Federation rules for so long that they couldn't imagine anyone breaking them. Their homeworld, with 8 billion people, was completely defenseless against a direct attack. "Excuse me, Commander. I need to speak with my crew." Jake left the observation deck and hurried to his ship. He found his senior officers in the briefing room, studying the battle plans for the Grand Melee. Sam Wright looked up as Jake entered. "Captain, I've been running the numbers on today's battle. Even with human ships fighting alongside them, the Veltari are going to lose. The Zethkar have too many advantages. That's not our biggest problem," Jake said, taking his seat. "Tony, tell them what you found." Tony activated the main display, showing a star chart with a red dot marking a system far from Federation space. "I've been tracking Zethkar communications for 3 weeks. They're using old-style radio signals that they think nobody monitors anymore. Yesterday I intercepted this." A harsh Zethkar voice filled the room, speaking in their clicking, scraping language. Tony had added human translation subtitles. "Second Fleet reports construction on schedule. 300 vessels will be ready for the final assault within 2 months. The Veltari homeworld will fall in a single strike while their fleet is engaged in formal combat." The room fell silent. Lisa was the first to speak. "They're planning to hit the Veltari homeworld while their ships are away fighting the Grand Melee?" "That's exactly what they're planning," Tony confirmed. "They've been building this secret fleet for years. While everyone thinks they're fighting honorable battles, they're preparing for a real invasion." Sam leaned forward. "How many people live on the Veltari homeworld?" 8 billion, Jake replied. "And according to Commander Velton, the planet has almost no defenses. They've never needed them because Federation law protects civilian worlds." "We have to warn the Federation Council," Lisa said. Jake shook his head. "I already tried. I spoke with Admiral Stone yesterday. She took the intelligence to the Council, but they said it would take months to investigate properly. They want to follow diplomatic channels and file formal complaints." "Months?" Sam looked incredulous. "The attack could happen in weeks." "The Council doesn't understand the concept of urgent military action," Jake explained. "Everything in the Federation moves slowly. They think they have time because that's how their system has always worked." Tony pulled up another display showing the timing of Zethkar attacks. "Look at this pattern. Every major Zethkar victory in the last 50 years has happened during a grand melee or other formal ceremony. They attack civilian targets while their enemies' fleets are engaged in ritual combat somewhere else." "They've been doing this for decades," Lisa realized. "The formal battles are just a distraction. They use the ceremonies to get enemy fleets away from their homeworlds, then hit the defenseless planets with their real military forces." Jake stood up and walked to the view screen, looking out at the 2 massive fleets preparing for their elaborate battle. 17 species have been conquered by the Zethkar. We thought they were just better at playing the Federation's game, but they weren't playing the game at all. They were using it. "What do we do?" Sam asked. Jake turned back to his officers. "The Grand Melee starts in 30 minutes. Both fleets will fight for hours in that asteroid field while Federation referees make sure everyone follows the rules. Meanwhile, the Zethkar secret fleet will be moving toward the Veltari homeworld. Can we stop them?" "Not following Federation protocols. By the time the Council finishes their investigation and files their reports, 8 billion Veltari will be dead or enslaved." The room fell quiet again as everyone absorbed the magnitude of the situation. The Federation's entire system of civilized warfare was based on trust and honor, but the Zethkar had been cheating for decades. They used the formal battles as cover for real military operations that broke every rule the Federation held sacred. "Captain," Lisa said slowly, "what if we don't follow the protocols?" Jake looked at her. "What do you mean?" "What if we skip the Grand Melee and go after the secret fleet instead? Hit them before they can attack the Veltari homeworld?" "That would violate every Federation combat rule," Sam pointed out. "We'd be attacking without warning outside the designated battle zone against an enemy that isn't officially at war with us. But we'd be saving 8 billion lives," Tony added. Jake thought about the consequences. If they abandoned the Grand Melee to attack the Zethkar secret fleet, They would be breaking every rule that had kept peace in the galaxy for 3,000 years. The Federation might expel humanity from the Alliance. Earth could lose access to alien technology and trade. They might even face retaliation from other species who saw them as dangerous rule breakers. But if they followed the rules, the Veltari would die. "Captain Morrison to the bridge," came a voice over the comm. It was Admiral Stone. "The Grand Melee ceremony is beginning. All ships are to take their assigned positions." Jake looked at his officers. In a few minutes, they would have to join the elaborate ceremony that would begin the formal battle. They would shake hands with their enemies, exchange polite wishes for an honorable fight, and then spend the next 6 hours in ritual combat, while the real Zethkar fleet moved toward 8 billion innocent victims. "Sir?" Lisa asked. "What are your orders?" Jake Morrison stood at the crossroads of galactic history. Follow the rules and watch a species die, or break the rules and face the consequences. For the first time since arriving in Federation space, he smiled. "Prep the ship for combat operations, real combat operations." "Sir?" "We're going to teach the galaxy what humans do when the rules don't work." Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance as his ship quietly broke away from the Grand Melee formation. Around him, his crew worked with deadly focus, preparing for a type of battle the galaxy had never seen before. "Signal from the UES Revenge," Tony Garcia reported. "Commander Taylor confirms she's with us. Same with Captain Johnson on the Fury and Captain Davis on the Havoc." Jake nodded. 4 human ships had volunteered to follow him on this mission. It wasn't much of a fleet, but it would have to be enough. "What about the Federation observers?" "Captain, Palmer is demanding we return to formation immediately. He says we're violating every combat protocol in the book." "Tell him we're having engine problems," Jake replied. "That should buy us some time." Lisa Park looked up from her tactical station. "Captain, we're clear of the battle zone. The Zethkar fleet is still focused on the ceremony. They have no idea we're gone." Through the view screen, Jake could see the Grand Melee beginning in the distance. 200 ships from each side moved in perfect formation, following patterns that had been established thousands of years ago. The Veltari ships gleamed like jewels as they took their assigned positions, preparing for a battle they could not win. "Sam, how long to reach the Zethkar staging area?" 6 hours at maximum speed," came the reply from engineering. "But Captain, we'll be running silent the whole way. No communications, no active sensors. We'll be blind until we reach the target." "That's the idea. The Zethkar think all human ships are busy with the Grand Melee. They won't be watching for us." Jake activated the ship's internal comm system. "All hands, this is the captain. In 6 hours, we're going to attack a secret Zethkar fleet that's preparing to destroy the Veltari homeworld. We won't be following Federation combat protocols. We won't be giving warnings or fighting fair. We're going to hit them with everything. We have and destroy them completely." He paused, knowing that what he said next would change everything. "What we're about to do will shock the entire galaxy. The Federation has never seen this kind of warfare before. But 8 billion innocent people are counting on us to save them, even if they don't know it yet." The ship fell silent as his words sank in. Then, one by one, acknowledgments came from every department. The crew understood what they were risking, but they also understood what was at stake. The next 6 hours passed slowly. The 4 human ships raced through space at speeds that would have horrified Federation observers. They used no lights, sent no signals, and avoided all shipping lanes. To anyone watching, they had simply vanished. "Approaching the target system," Lisa announced. "Passive sensors are picking up massive energy signatures." Jake leaned forward in his command chair. "Put it on screen." The view screen showed a sight that made everyone on the bridge gasp. Hundreds of Zethkar ships filled the space around a barren planet. These weren't the ceremonial vessels used in formal battles. These were warships, built for destruction and conquest. Their hulls were black metal covered with weapons, and they moved with deadly purpose. 312 vessels, Lisa reported, her voice tight with concern. All armed for planetary assault. "Captain, this fleet could destroy any world in Federation space." "Are they moving toward Veltari space?" "Negative. They're still in staging formation. It looks like they're waiting for something. Tony's hands flew over his communication controls. I'm picking up Zethkar transmissions. They're waiting for confirmation that the Grand Melee has begun. Once they know the Veltari fleet is engaged in formal combat, they'll move out. Jake felt cold anger building in his chest. The Zethkar had planned this perfectly. While the galaxy watched their civilized battle, this hidden fleet would destroy an entire world. By the time anyone realized what had happened, billions would be dead. Commander Taylor to Defiance, came Beth Taylor's voice over the comm. My tactical officer has identified their command ship. It's that massive vessel in the center of their formation. Jake studied the target. The Zethkar command ship was 3 times larger than any vessel in the Grand Melee. It bristled with weapons and armor, designed to coordinate the destruction of worlds. All ships, this is Captain Morrison. We're going to hit them before they know we're here. No warnings, no formal challenges, no fair fighting. Lisa, target their communications array first. I want them blind and confused. Targeting solutions locked. Lisa confirmed. Commander Taylor, take your ship and hit their fuel depot. Captain Johnson, target their weapons platforms. Captain Davis, you're with us on the command ship. The 4 human ships moved into attack position, using the asteroids and debris in the system for cover. The Zethkar fleet had no idea they were there. For centuries, they had never faced an enemy that would attack without warning. All ships ready, came the reports from the other captains. Jake took a deep breath. What they were about to do would change galactic warfare forever. Fire. The Defiance unleashed every weapon it had. Energy beams and missiles streaked across space, striking the Zethkar command ship before it could react. The alien vessel's shields flared and failed under the sudden assault. Explosions rippled across its hull as human weapons tore through, armor that had never been tested in real combat. Around the fleet, the other human ships struck their targets with devastating precision. The fuel depot erupted in a massive fireball that lit up the entire system. Weapons platforms crumbled under focused fire. Communication arrays vanished in bursts of energy. The Zethkar fleet was in chaos. Their commanders had never faced an attack like this. Ships collided with each other as they tried to respond to threats coming from multiple directions. Some vessels fired blindly into space, hitting their own allies. Their command ship is breaking apart, Lisa reported with satisfaction. Hull breach on 17 decks. They're losing power across all systems. Jake watched as the massive alien vessel split in half, its dark hull glowing with internal fires. Target the next command ship, don't give them time to reorganize. For the next hour, the 4 human ships carved through the Zethkar fleet like wolves among sheep. They used tactics the aliens had never seen before. Electronic warfare that jammed enemy sensors. Coordinated attacks that struck multiple targets simultaneously. Psychological operations that spread fear and confusion through the enemy ranks. The Zethkar tried to respond, but their training was all wrong. They had spent centuries learning how to fight formal battles with rules and protocols. They didn't know how to handle an enemy that struck without warning, used deception, and fought to actually win rather than to score points. Enemy fleet is in full retreat, Tony announced. The survivors are jumping to hyperspace as fast as they can. Jake looked at the tactical display. Of the 312 Zethkar ships, only 67 remained. The rest were destroyed or disabled, floating wreckage in the cold of space. The secret fleet that was supposed to destroy the Veltari homeworld was finished. Incoming transmission, Tony said. It's from the surviving Zethkar ships. The main screen showed a Zethkar commander, his insect features twisted with shock and confusion. Human vessels, we surrender. We request mercy according to Federation protocols. Jake stood up slowly. There are no Federation protocols here, General. This is how humans fight when innocent lives are at stake. Tell your leaders that if they ever threaten civilians again, we'll find them, and next time, we won't show mercy. The transmission ended, and Jake turned to his crew. Send a message to Admiral Stone. Tell her the threat to the Veltari homeworld has been eliminated. What about the Grand Melee? Lisa asked. Jake smiled grimly. Let them finish their ceremony. When they're done playing by the rules, we'll show Then what really happened here? As the four human ships turned toward home, Jake knew that everything had changed. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity had a very different idea of how wars should be fought, and the lesson was just beginning. 3 days after the destruction of the secret Zethkar fleet, Jake Morrison stood before the Federation Council on the capital world of Centauri Prime. The massive chamber was filled with representatives from hundreds of species, all staring at him with expressions ranging from shock to fear to fascination. The council chamber was a marvel of alien architecture, with floating platforms that allowed species of all sizes to participate. Above Jake, a giant jellyfish-like being pulsed, with angry colors. To his left, a group of insect creatures clicked and buzzed in agitated conversation. On his right, the peaceful Veltari delegation watched him with grateful eyes. Prime Minister Kelthera, the ethereal leader of the Andorian people, spoke first. Her voice sounded like singing crystals, but her words were cold. Captain Morrison, you stand accused of violating every principle of civilized warfare. You attacked without warning. You showed no mercy to surrendering enemies. You destroyed ships completely instead of allowing honorable withdrawal. Jake stood straight, his hands clasped behind his back. Prime Minister, with respect, those ships were heading to murder 8 billion innocent people. That is not the point, Kelthera replied. The Federation has maintained peace for 3,000 years by following established protocols. Your actions threaten the very foundation of our civilization. A new voice spoke from across the chamber. It was General Thraxon, the Zethkar, commander who had fought Jake in the first formal battle. But now the alien's tone was different, filled with something that sounded like respect. Prime Minister, if I may speak. You may, General. Thraxon's insect features turned toward Jake. The human captain did something we have never seen before. He fought to actually win, not to gain honor or follow rules, but to achieve complete victory. Murmurs spread through the chamber as the various alien species discussed this concept. Complete victory was not something they understood. Their wars were designed to continue forever, with small gains and losses that kept everyone engaged but never truly threatened. General, asked a representative from the tree-like Groot species, are you saying you approve of these human methods? I am saying they are effective, Thraxon replied. In 4 hours, the humans destroyed a fleet that took us 50 years to build. They used tactics we could not predict or counter. They fought with a purpose we had forgotten existed. Jake watched as the alien general continued his testimony. For 200 years, my people have conquered territory through the formal combat system. We thought we were great warriors, but the humans showed us something different. They showed us what war actually means. Prime Minister Kelthera's colors shifted to deeper shades of blue and purple. General, are you suggesting we abandon 3,000 years of civilized development? I am suggesting, Thraxon said slowly, that perhaps our civilization survived because we forgot how to truly fight. But now there may be threats that require real warriors, not ceremony masters. Admiral, Stone's voice came from behind Jake. She had arrived on Centauri Prime that morning to support her captain. If I may address the Council, Prime Minister. You may speak, Admiral. The humans discovered that the Zethkar have been cheating for decades. They used formal battles as distractions while attacking defenseless worlds with hidden fleets. 17 species have been conquered this way. The Federation's own protocols made it impossible to stop them. Angry sounds filled the chamber as representatives realized the implications. The Veltari delegation leader, Commander Velthan, stood up on his platform. The humans saved our homeworld. 8 billion of my people are alive because Captain Morrison broke your rules. But what happens next? Asked a small furry creature from the Ewok Coalition. If everyone starts fighting like humans, won't we have chaos? Won't we return to the dark ages of real warfare? Jake stepped forward. Council members, we don't want endless war. Humans fight hard so that wars end quickly. We destroy our enemies completely so we never have to fight them again. Explain, demanded a crystalline being whose voice sounded like breaking glass. The Federation's civilized warfare creates permanent conflict, Jake continued. Battles go on for years or decades because nobody is allowed to actually win. The Zethkar conquered 17 species over 2 centuries because your rules let them do it slowly. He gestured toward General Thraxon. We destroyed their secret fleet in 4 hours. Now they can't threaten anyone else. The war is over, not extended. Prime Minister Kelthera was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was thoughtful. Captain Morrison, your methods saved innocent lives, but they also terrified the galaxy. Many species now fear that humans are too dangerous to remain in the Federation, and many others, added a new voice, are requesting human military advisors. Everyone turned to see Captain Roy Palmer, the Federation diplomatic observer, entering the chamber. He carried a data pad filled with official communications. Prime Minister, Palmer continued, in the last 3 days, 47 species have formally requested human assistance with their defense planning. They want to learn these new tactics, and 12 species have demanded that humans be expelled from the Federation immediately, added another representative. Jake looked around the chamber, seeing the divide his actions had created. Half the galaxy wanted to learn from humanity's military effectiveness. The other half wanted humans gone before they corrupted the peaceful Federation system. General Thraxon spoke again. Prime Minister, the Zethkar Horde formally surrenders all territorial claims gained through conquest. We also request permission to send our military officers to study with human instructors. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. The idea of the galaxy's most aggressive species asking to learn from someone else was unprecedented. Prime Minister Kelthera raised her hand for silence. The Council will now vote on the human question. Do we expel humanity for violating our protocols, or do we accept that their methods, while shocking, may be necessary for our survival? The vote took 2 hours. Representatives debated in dozens of languages, their voices creating a symphony of confusion and concern. Jake stood quietly through it all, knowing that the future of human-alien relations hung in the balance. Finally, Prime Minister Kelthera announced the results. By a vote of 423 to 424, the Council has decided to allow humans to remain in the Federation. Jake let out a breath he didn't know he had been holding. They had won by a single vote. However, Kelthera continued, humanity will be granted a special status. You will become the Federation's military instructors, teaching other species how to fight effectively when the old rules fail. She looked directly at Jake. Captain Morrison, you will be promoted to Admiral and tasked with creating the Federation's first military academy. Your job will be to teach the galaxy that sometimes peace can only be preserved by being willing to fight real wars. Jake nodded solemnly. We accept this responsibility, Prime Minister. As the Council session ended, representatives from dozens of species approached Jake with requests for military training. The peaceful Veltari wanted to learn how to defend themselves. Former enemies like the Zethkar wanted to understand human strategy. Even some of the most advanced species admitted they needed to relearn the art of actual warfare. Admiral Stone appeared at Jake's side as they left the chamber. Congratulations, Admiral Morrison. You just changed the galaxy forever. Jake looked out through a massive window at the ships from hundreds of worlds orbiting Centauri Prime. I hope we changed it for the better, Karen. We did, she replied. For the first time in 3,000 years, the galaxy knows what real victory looks like, and more importantly, they know that some fights are worth winning completely. As they walked toward their transport, Jake thought about the future. Humanity would teach the galaxy how to fight, but more importantly, they would teach them when fighting was necessary and when it wasn't. The Federation's era of endless polite warfare was over. The age of decisive victory had begun.